And this is Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John. That's Richard.
Hey, John. How you doing?
People love it when we point at each other, apparently. I'm doing well. We've got so much this week. I say that every week because we have a jam-packed show. We've got our main topic, our most underrated Copper Age comics, our hot book of the week, viewer mail, our underrated books of the week. And let's get started with that hot book of the week. Richard, what is it?
It is Invincible #1, an Image comic book. It is on fire primarily because of the Amazon Prime show that debuted this week. A 9.8 sold for $2,500 last month. So let's see what happens this month with the effect of the. They put out 3 episodes of the show. It is a very interesting story. Did you get a chance to read this or actually watch the show?
Nope. I have done neither, which I'm shocked. You know, I keep hearing great things about it. I like Robert Kirkman. I love Walking Dead. I love the Marvel stuff he did. He did a run on Marvel of a book called Marvel Team Up, a revival of that I really liked until the end when he introduced a character named Freedom Ring, which is just as cringe as it sounds. But it's weird that I've never read this book. I do remember when this came out, it's severely underordered. People did not know this book was going to be something. It was a superhero title from Image when they weren't really in the superhero business anymore. They were doing more off-center creator-owned things. And Robert Kirkman was not Robert Kirkman yet when Invincible 1 came out. So I'm not surprised it's going for $2,500 in a 9.8.
Yeah, no, this is something that I didn't read back in the day. I know Image has done an image first of this book for people who actually want to read it. So there's opportunities to go out there and pick it up. But yeah, this flew under my radar. Even when the Image first came out, I bought it, but I never got around to reading it.
Same here. I have the free comic book store day variant of this. I have the Image first variant. I have the local comic store day variant that came out earlier this year, or sorry, last year. God, it's been a year when everything went down. And, you know, none of these other variant prints have done anything except for that foil local comic store day, that gold foil one. It goes for about $20 now. And you know what? I'm going to get off my duff and read it. I want to watch the show. No spoilers, please. You guys tell us in the comments. Are we missing out? I think we are.
Yeah, I watched the first episode of the Amazon Prime show. It was a fun episode. I enjoyed it, and then it had one of those right hook kinds of endings to it that it was completely unexpected and changed the whole tone of the episode.
That's what he does. That's what Kirkman does. He doesn't Walking Dead where it's like you think it's going one way and he zags left instead of right. So I would expect nothing less from Robert Kirkman.
Well, it sure did zag.
Right. Tell us what you think. We're going to watch it this week. I need to watch. There's a whole bunch of stuff I need to watch. I am like way behind. So I got to get off my duff and stop working and fixing the house and watch more television.
Yeah, your priorities are all out of whack, John.
Yeah, it was really screwed up. Speaking of screwed up, time for viewer mail. I kid. We get the best letters from you guys. We get the best comments. Our first one is from Jason Brownell, who writes, "You have often looked at how Silver Age books are decent to target while the modern market is exploding." Very true. I used to go after the Fantastic Four books while Fox owned them, but now that ship is sailing on me. I found myself looking more towards Silver Age DC books that are the blue chips. Books like Justice League 21, that first JLA, JSA crossover, Flash 123, Early Legion. These books are not nearly as explosive as many Marvel books, but have potential of exploding while maintaining their blue chip value, where I don't see anyone losing money on these buying them now. I agree. I think Evan's not here, our DC Comics consultant, but I will speak on his behalf and on Collector's behalf. There are lots of DC keys out there that are sitting there kind of stagnant right now. It might be a buyer's market. You might get some real deals on some of this stuff. You know, there's stuff that's always going to be out of reach, like Showcase #4. Right. Brave and the Bold 28, you know, but you can get some steals on other stuff that's non-Batman related. I think Batman's always going to be hot no matter what, but I can't see anybody lining up for Adventure Comics 300 with that Legion cover, you know, stuff like that.
Right. I think the Legion Legion got me into comic books. No doubt about it. Reading those adventure comics from the 60s and early 70s. And I think there is a huge potential for investment in those books. There's a ton of characters there from all the different Legionnaires. You've got Superboy involved. You've got Supergirl involved. It is a playground for a variety of different people who want to come up with new show plots. It's amazing. If we start to see HBO Max become the Disney Plus for DC, they may mind that Legion of Superheroes load and pull out all kinds of gems.
We might just be one announcement of a Matter Eater Lad TV series away.
Or Bouncing Boy. Yeah.
What's the one guy? Arm removal kid, or he can remove his arm and beat you to death with it. I liked him the best. He was my favorite.
I never said all the characters are good. Remember, this was the 60s. So
I think Legion, I think you're right. Legion is so undertapped. I wanted to like the new Bendis run. I even bought it. I read half of it and went, okay, it's Brian Michael Bendis. You know, boy, I feel guilty having this conversation without Evan here.
You know, there is DC without Evan.
Well, we need Evan to keep us honest, because you and we sink into this DC bashing, and we honestly don't mean to. There is a lot DC's doing that I genuinely like, but I grew up, you know, bashing DC as a kid, you know, 6 years old. You know what we used to call DC Comics when I was a kid? DC stands for dumb comics.
Oh God.
we were very on top of things back then.
No, I have to admit, you know, once I started collecting comics, I was a Marvel boy, but DC did get me into it. Between Legion of Superheroes and early Superboys, it was just fascinating. The world they created in those comic books, and it was so simple and easy to understand for a kid. You know, some of the Marvel stuff tends to be a little heavy for, you know, a 10-year-old kid, but the DC stuff was easy to read and easy to digest. So definitely got me into it.
I love your foreshadowing by mentioning Marvel Boy. That's coming up later. We'll have to wait and see. But first, you have some viewer mail, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a mail from Mark Oldroyd. Richard, you are a salesman. I always end up going and searching for your undervalued comics of the week. I managed to pick up Spider-Man 2 second print for 13 pounds raw. Yeah, thanks. I don't mean to be a salesperson. But I do buy what I recommend. So it's
over here, kids. I got a Spider-Man 2 second print for you. It's only 13 pounds. I think Mark is on target here. You do have good recommendations, and I want to give a shout out to Mark. He started a YouTube channel and mentions us in his latest episode. So look at how his name is spelled there. That's his channel, and go check him out.
Absolutely. It's a fun video.
All right, time to move on to our main topic this week, talk about recommendations. It is a sequel to our underrated Bronze Age books episode. This time it's underrated Copper Age books. What's out there? What's flying under the radar? What can you guys scoop up now relatively cheaply and have it pay off in the long run? Well, we're here to hopefully lead you in the right direction. So let's get started. I'm going to start off with one that I can't believe is still this affordable, and that is, strangely enough, Captain America number 321. Why is this book underrated? Look at that cover. It's Cap with a gun and a bloodthirsty expression firing it into the reader. It's really a great story. Mark Gruenwald is really making a statement here about what was going on in the 80s. The dirty, hairy, dark and gritty thing was kind of taking over, and heroes like Captain America were kind of falling out of fashion. So Mark Gruenwald said, what if I show people why Captain America does not use a gun? Now, in this issue, he's forced to use a gun to save an innocent person's life. He doesn't want to, but he's on a plane. He's trapped with these terrorists from Ultimatum and Flag Smashers in it, if you're buying Flag Smasher keys, and he kind of has to do it. I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but it is a great story. It's a super tough black cover, very hard to find in high grade, and it's still a steal. The last sale for a 9.8 was just $125 in May of last year, and there hasn't been a sale since for a 9.8. So, you know, it's one of those things. Is it scarce in 9.8 or just no one cares? Look at that cover. I think if you threw that up at a comic show at the back of the rack, it'd be gone. So go grab it.
Now, John Walker used a gun in the second episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Did he use guns in the comics?
Yeah, well, John Walker, I don't want to spoil anything if you're watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, but in the comics, he was a killing machine.
I think we're safe. An episode back one.
Yeah. You'll see little things are coming out about John Walker's personality that will show themselves. Now, does that mean John Walker is a bad person? No, but he's not Steve Rogers.
Right. And that foreshadows my pick for later on. My first pick is X-Men 166. This is the first appearance of Lockheed. Lockheed is the little lizard dragon thing that Kitty Pryde adopts and becomes her pet. This book technically is still a Bronze Age book. It's from 1983, but I'm slipping it in because Copper supposedly starts in 84. This is in the run of Claremont books. This is really, really inexpensive. This 9.6 I paid $120 for off of eBay. So of the runs for, for X-Men of this era, that is really, really affordable. Now, if you're going to see Kitty Pryde's first appearance is in 129. Now, here's the thing. If you look at the two covers side by side, they are very similar, right?
It's Colossus, right?
Right. There's Colossus holding something up. It's either a brood or it's some dude, right?
There's one too, where he's under the weight.
Yeah, right. So this is interesting because I actually had a live sale this week where I mistook the two because at a distance it's hard to tell. But if you're going to see Kitty Pryde, 129, eventually you're going to see Lockheed. I think that character is too good of a foil for Kitty Pryde for Marvel to drop on. And like I said, a 9.6 for less than $200 is an amazing value for an early by Claremont standards X-Men.
That's also an excellent Paul Smith art, and he was notoriously slow, and that's a double-sized issue. So the fact that they got a double-sized issue out of Paul Smith, mwah. Yeah.
If you come across this raw, you can find this raw all day long for about $50, which is a great price. Again, slabbed, it's not very expensive. This is one of those books that I think the next wave that we're going to see for Marvel Comics is going to be mutants. So in preparation for that, you should be looking out for those X-Men keys, those X-Men value books, because like we've seen for, other titles, Daredevil, for example, you'll see a rise across the entire run as people see value in it. And this kind of book is right now a great buy, in my opinion.
Excellent. Well, we always talk on this podcast about black covers and how tough they are in grade. This is the Spinal Tap Smell the Glove black cover of all black covers. And that is Solar Man of the Atom number 10. This is an incredibly tough all black cover. It's also embossed, so you've got that going for it as well. It's also the first appearance of Eternal Warrior. It's got beautiful Barry Windsor Smith art in it. There are just 152 9.8s on the CGC census for this book. That's out of over 1,100 submitted. So yeah, 10% are just around 9.8. 9.8 sold for $500 in December. Now we're saying this is underrated because nobody talks about it, but there are hardcore Valiant people out there that want these books still. To get $500 for a Valiant book that you know, no one's really paid attention to. I know they're still in business doing stuff, but they don't have the rights to Solar. They don't have the rights to Magnus. So there's nothing going on with those characters right now. It's amazing. There's a lot of nostalgia for early Valiant. I'm one of them. I loved early Valiant before they booted Shooter. I don't know why they were, well, I know why they did it, but it was still stupid. There is also a second print of this book as well. So if you want the second print, chase it, but make sure you double check when you're buying it, because it's got the little 2 on the embossed underneath.
Oh, so it's not an indicia or anything like that?
No, you got to look for this little Roman numeral 2 underneath there. So be careful if you're buying it. Who maybe you do want a second print. People are all about second and third prints now, so who knows? But just a really, really tough book.
But you're right. But we have mutual friends who are big Valiant fans, and will go out of their way to find those Valiant keys.
Forrest, Lonnie, Rob. I mean, I can name them all. I know all the Valiant guys when we were coming up, and I was one of them. I was pushing those Valiant books on everybody. I was like crack. You know, hey, try this. One free, kid.
My next pick is a really, really obscure one. It is Area 88 #1. Ooh. This is a Japanese anime title translated into English, and the premise of it is really interesting. You've got this mercenary air force where everyone in the air force owns their own plane, and because of that, there is a variety of different planes. Think of any jet from the 1950s all the way through the 1970s, 80s, and you've got French Mirages flying with F4s, and you got F-18s, and it's just a variety of different planes. And seeing those planes and watching them fly those planes in combat with each other is half the fun. But the storyline is typical Japanese anime storylines. It's not necessarily easy to follow for an American audience because it is translated from the Japanese. But it's a fun read. It's about 35 issues. You can get the entire run on eBay right now for $40. I actually did that. I bought the whole run, came in a nice box. So I've got all the books. They're all in mint condition. So it's not an expensive book. There is only one book on the census. It is a 9.6, and it sold in February of last year for $10.
I love
$10 for the 9.6. I take that. I'm sorry. There are 5 books on the census. That's the only sale in the GPA ever. Wow. For this book. So it's not something that people are really looking for. But if you're into anime, and I know there are a lot of people who are, and you're into military history, it's an awesome story to read. It's kind of like there was a Luftwaffe 1946, which is another militarily driven anime story, or one that I almost put in my list here, which is Star Blazers. If you're a big naval battle aficionado, you've got to read Star Blazers and watch the Star Blazers anime cartoons. But I picked this one out of all the anime stuff because I think it's really, really just underrated at this point.
Star Blazer.
That's my childhood right there, Star Blazers.
I love that. Channel 43, 4:30 p.m.
That's right. That's
on Cleveland when we were kids. That's where it was on. I love that. We can talk about Eclipse comics as just a general thing. They were huge in the Bronze Age. They had lots of stuff going on. There was a point where they were the #3 company or close to it behind Marvel and DC. And you mentioned buying a full run for $40. I did the same thing with Zot. I bought a Zot for like $35. I bought a full run of Crossfire for like $40 with that great Dave Stevens cover on it.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
They can be had so cheap, and they're so good. And complicated rights issues stuff is keeping this stuff from being reprinted. It's sad, but a lot of comic history is just being lost.
It is. It definitely. All the things John just mentioned, read them because they're great stories, and for the price, you can't beat it.
Oh, Zot. Mwah. Well, moving on, we're going to go back to Valiant again. I have 2 Valiant books on my list. The next one is Harbinger Zero, the pink cover, which was the mail-away version. Now, in order to get this book, you had to buy Harbinger 1 through 6, which were very underordered when they first came out. Valiant was not Valiant yet, so hardly any retailers ordered these books in any kind of bulk, especially Harbinger 2 and 3. They were severely underordered. So you had to get all 6 first issues, cut the coupons out from inside.
I was afraid you're going to say that.
Mail them off, and then wait for your book to arrive, hopefully not mangled by the postal service back then. There were only 6,500 copies of this printed. A 9.8 sold in March for just $215.
Oh my goodness.
That is an insane steal. Whoever got that, kudos to you. I'm jealous. I would have bought that all day long at $215. All we need is one movie announcement from the Valiant people about Harbinger, and this could blow up. But they did do Bloodshot.
That does kind of stick out as a strike against them, doesn't it?
You know, Vin Diesel, you had your day, buddy. It might be time to say, you know what, I'm 50 now. Maybe I shouldn't be running around. It hasn't stopped Tom Cruise, I guess. But.
No.
But Harbinger Zero, the mail-away version, it's super tough book, and I can't believe that $215 sale. I'm so jealous.
So there's a pink version. Are there different color versions besides?
Yeah, they did a trade paperback, and part of the trade paperback that reprinted 1 through 6 is they included a reprint of Harbinger Zero, and it's a different color. So you have to really look out for that pink version.
Yep, that's a good tip. My next choice is one that I'm still shocked at the value of. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 301.
Oh,
it is the book after the famous Amazing Spider-Man 300, the first appearance of Venom. In 301, Peter Parker goes back to the blue and red costume. So he's dumped the symbiote and it's gone back to his original costume. The thing is, the cover looks identical to 301 with 2 exceptions. Well, 3 exceptions. He's wearing the different costume. The background is different, and there's a little different in terms of the text on the cover. Other than that, it looks like a mirror copy of 300.
And they're a set. People should treat it like a set to display.
Exactly. I completely agree. They really are kind of bookends. And the way that white cover stands out, this book has an incredible hockey stick in terms of price. Just like 300, which is also a hard book in grade, the 9.6 of this book is only $284. But then the 9.8 goes up to $19.90. So it's like $2,000 versus less than $300.
White cover picks up everything, every defect.
It does. It's color rubs, all kinds of things get caught by that cover. But, you know, I'm really thinking that this book just really is just being passed up by people. I come across books, 301s in long boxes, and sometimes they're obviously not going to be 9.8s. But, it's not worth picking them up and seeing if the white covers can be cleaned, as long as the book is structurally sound and can be cleaned and pressed. And you have a shot at getting a 9.8 out of it. It's definitely worth it. But even not, I mean, this to me is anybody who has a 300, regardless of the grade, needs to have the 301 to go along with it. And like I said, it's the first homage cover to 300. It literally is the next month. That's
a really good point.
So at the prices you could pick this up, it's a book I would definitely grab. At some point, we're going to see the market actually turn and realize that there's additional value in this book. And if you're smart, you can have some copies of, in hand by the time that happens at a reasonable price.
I can see why people pass it up. Venom's not in it. You've got that first full Venom appearance, but there is aftermath from the Venom fight in 300. That's really why Peter went back to the original costume, because Mary Jane was so traumatized by her experience with Venom. She couldn't stand to look at that black costume anymore. She was like, it's that costume or me, get rid of it. And, yeah, that's where she's going to draw the line. I get it. And I think, that issue has like Silver Sable in it, right?
Yeah, right.
It's not a really exciting story. Forget the story. People are buying books for the cover now. Right. I mean, let's be real. We can rail about people not reading their comics all day long, but we also deal in reality. And if you're buying books for the cover, why aren't you buying this one?
Yeah, a lot of people, and it's a valid way of collecting. You know, people collect stamps, people collect coins. You know, you don't necessarily need to be engrossed by the storyline as long as you enjoy the appearance and you find value in it. And we got a lot of new collectors who just don't know necessarily the story, but they do know the value of Amazing Spider-Man 300 because they could read as well as the rest of us.
I love the fact that you mentioned it's the first homage to Amazing Spider-Man 300 because there have been so many. That alone makes it significant in my eyes, but that's a great pick. I cannot believe you did not pick this one. We were talking before we started recording, and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, I totally forgot about this one.
That is Warrior #1. What is Warrior #1? It is a British magazine that is the first real appearance of both Marvel Man, who became Miracle Man when they reprinted it in the States, thanks Marvel, and V for Vendetta, both in the same book. These were later reprinted and reworked in the US by our friends at Eclipse Comics and DC Comics. These are seminal Alan Moore creations, the man who changed comic books forever. It started here. It started here. And it's so impossible in high grade. The highest graded sale recorded is a 9.2 for $750 last October. There is only one 9.6 on the census, no 9.8s. The size of the book, it's kind of that Captain Britain UK magazine size. That's a big strike against it. People just don't like storing these things, or they bend them. They try to force them into boxes. So it's really tough in grade. CGC will slab these. They do. So if you see it somewhere, you have a chance to grab it. I think Warrior #1 is severely underrated.
I totally agree. This is one I dropped the ball on because I am a big Alan Moore fan between all of his different things, but especially Miracle Man. You know, I love Miracle Man, and V for Vendetta is one of my favorite movies of all time. And the comic book is a little tough to get through, but it's still an interesting read and well worth it. So yeah, I wonder if the reason why it is so hard to come by is because it is a foreign book, and because of that, there's just Americans were never exposed to it to the same way that say the British audience was, and never got around to actually collecting it. I've never come across a copy anywhere in my travels.
It was an anthology, and it only lasted, I think, 6 issues before it got canceled. So it didn't have a chance to get traction at all. So it's tough. But, you know, luckily, thanks to Eclipse back in the day in DC, Alan was able to finish both those stories that started in this anthology. And we're going to move on. If you guys have picks that we missed, or you want to turn us on to something, leave it in the comments. We're really curious as to what you guys think are some underrated Copper keys, and we'll read them in viewer mail next week. The Copper Age is from, you can see what I'm trying to do here.
I know. I'm waiting like the rest of the audience is to see how you're going to do this.
Trying to do a very proper segue to a segment that we call the 25-year rule. And that was not it.
That was terrible. You have to work on that, John. You were so good.
I know. I've done this what 40 times now, and I'm out of segues. I'm tapped when it comes to segues. I am not tapped when it comes to books from 1996, including this week's Avengers Unplugged #5. First of all, I have to complain about the title of this book. It is the stupidest title for a comic book I think I've ever heard of. Avengers Unplugged. What does it even mean?
The Acoustic Avengers? Yeah, what exactly does it mean?
I hate it so much. It's just like someone at Marvel said, Unplugged is cool. Kids like the MTV. They like Avengers Unplugged. What? They have no powers? They have no electricity? What? It's so stupid. Stupid. I got it out of my system. This was Marvel's attempt at reaching new readers with a 99-cent price point. Now, what happens to books that are specially priced? What happens? Nobody orders them. Nobody cares. They're seen as non-essential. They're tossed to the side. However, this issue is significant because it features Captain Marvel's son, Legacy, as he was known at the time, versus the Monica Rambeau version of Captain Marvel. They fight over the name Captain Marvel and who has the rights to it.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going to say whether this was a smart move back in the day, but basically Monica Rambeau loses. A black woman can't keep anything in there.
Not even her name, for God's sake.
Right. So she changes her name to Photon. Now, what's significant about this? We all saw WandaVision. We know Captain Marvel's coming back. We know Monica now has her power. She's not going to be known as Captain Marvel. What's she going to be known as?
Photon.
Okay, here it is. First appearance of Monica Rambeau is Photon. A 9.6 sold in February for $361.
Wow.
This is a quarter box book for days.
But because of that first appearance, that's where people are finding the value.
I think it's something to look out for when you're at a show like Richard was at today and he saw tons of dollar bins and you could have walked right by an Avengers Unplugged #5 and not even known it.
I would have passed it up with that name. Easily would have passed it up.
So there it is, the first appearance of Photon. So dig in those dollar bins for that Avengers Unplugged. That amazing cover that just screams 1996.
But you got to admit, knowledge plays here. People can dig through those dollar bins and get those books for $1 and then get them slabbed for $30 and you got yourself a $300 plus book.
That's a nice profit.
Yeah.
And speaking of deals, well, not really deals because mine's pretty expensive, but it's time for our underrated books of the week. And my pick is underrated because it's expensive, but it could be much more expensive. And that is Marvel Boy #1. This is the first Atlas Age superhero title in 1952. Superheroes were done, over, kaput. It was all about horror, science fiction. For some reason, Atlas put out Marvel Boy #1, which was more of a science fiction-y superhero title. It was about a boy who grew up on Uranus. Yeah. Go ahead. Get it all out of your system.
I'm sorry. This is the way you said it. It's just
he literally grew out of Uranus and came to the Earth to help protect people using his powers from Uranus. The most recent sale for Marvel Boy #1 was for a 7.0 for $2,280 in September. Now, Marvel Boy would later become the Crusader, who was actually a Fantastic Four villain from the mid-70s. Then, after he blew himself out of Uranus, his costume and name would be taken up by Wendell Vaughn, who would become our buddy Quasar.
Yeah. Everything comes back to Quasar. It's like 6 degrees of separation.
Quasar. If Quasar shows up in a future Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which rumors are swirling that Quasar is going to eventually appear, we could see some movement on this title, much like the Jimmy Woo and Yellow Claw #1. Marvel Boy lasted 2 issues in the 50s. And then it became a book called Astonishing, which had horror stories. But there are Marvel Boy stories left over that show up in Astonishing 3, 4, and 5. All of them have fantastic Bill Everett art, except for the origin story, which is by Russ Heath. I mean, you can't beat this art combo. So I think Marvel Boy #1 is still very underrated. And for all the books to come from Uranus, this is my favorite.
It's the best. My question is, though, Atlas Age. What defines Atlas Age? Is that before Golden Age?
No, the Atlas Age. I'm talking about Marvel specifically. They were timely in the 40s. And then when you move into the 50s, they start calling themselves Atlas Comics. So they did that from, the early 50s all the way through 1959, 1960. And then they started using the term Marvel Comics to refer to themselves. So when I say Atlas Age, it's actually, if you're talking ages in comics, Golden Age, the Atomic Age,
right,
which is the 50s, then the Silver Age. So this is an Atlas Age, Atomic Age comic.
Yeah, at some point we need to have a conversation about what age are we in now? Given
the decrepit age. I'm losing.
Okay.
I'm in the dad age of comics where I think talking about Uranus is hysterical.
It is hysterical. I'm sorry. From ages 8 to 80, that is hysterical. My pick is a more modern book. My pick is all new Captain America #1, specifically the second print from 2015. This pick has Sam Wilson as Captain America on the cover. It is a striking set of covers. It's not only the A cover, which is the second print is a version of, but there is a gorgeous Alex Ross cover that's out there. There's a gorgeous Pacelli cover that is just Sam in the Captain America outfit and the shield with a white background, and it proudly states that this is the new Captain America. I fully feel that the way that the storyline is going for Falcon and Winter Soldier, this is a journey for Sam Wilson. He decided at the beginning of the series he was unworthy to have the shield, and that's why he turned it over to the museum. This journey is going to teach him that he is worthy of the shield, and he has a responsibility to take up the mantle that Captain America left for him. So at the end of it, I am fully expecting to see Sam Wilson in Captain America garb with the shield, with Bucky at his side, and it's going to be the perfect lead-in for the next phase of Marvel movies. So I'm excited about this. So this book is a great way of getting an inexpensive head start on that new Captain America legacy for the MCU. It's really inexpensive. There's I was able to pick up copies of this book for anywhere from $30 to $50 on eBay as raws. There aren't very many books on the census. For the first print, there's 90 books. Now, the second print seems to be very rare. There is only one copy of it on the census right now. So I've had to pull numbers from the first print because it's just a ghost as far as the census is concerned. So there's no GPA. There is only one 9.8 out there for the second print, and the first print is going for about $78. There is no sale for that for the second print, so I have no good measure to give you for it. In my opinion, the second print looks to be so rare that if you pick up a copy, when we do see Sam don that Captain America costume and people turn to look at the stories out there, these covers are so iconic that they're going to be picked up, in my opinion, as one of the value covers for Sam Wilson. And now it's time to pick these up.
I agree. And I'm going to give you a bonus underrated book and a bonus tip to go along with this.
Ooh, okay.
Do you know the first time Sam Wilson put on a Captain America costume?
I know of it. I can picture it in my mind, but I don't remember what issue.
Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, number 8 and 9. Now, this was a spin-off title from the Mark Waid, Ron Garney run. When they came back on the book, it was so popular that they had another title. And there's a storyline in issues 7 and 8 where Steve is out of commission and Sam Wilson puts on the Captain America costume. Now, he technically does not become Captain America, but he's wearing the costume and the cover sure implies it. So that's another pair to look out for if you're scooping up these Sam keys. Yeah,
just because you're Dwayne and you put on a Spider-Man suit doesn't mean you're Spider-Man.
You leave Dwayne from Electric Company alone.
No, it's a great pick. That's great. That's a great tip. I think we're going to see some real action. The whole Falcon and Winter Soldier is just a setup show. So the things that are going to come out of the show are going to be more important than the show itself. So I can't wait to see what happens in that 6th episode.
We've seen, I don't want to put any spoilers this week, but we've seen lots of stuff in episode 3 that, wow, I'm so excited as, I'll just say, as a Thunderbolts fan. I'm so Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. It's right up there. If you like what you hear, please give us a like, subscribe, give us a review on your favorite podcast platform. I saw those new reviews last week. Thank you guys very much. Leave us a comment. Tell us what we missed. Tell us what you want to hear. And we read every single one of them. And we will see you next time.
Everybody stay safe.